everyone. My name is Onur Besat Tokdemir. I work at Istanbul Teknik University. It's a great pleasure to be here. I work with artificial intelligence applications for a long time. I think I wrote my first article in 1997, around 30 years ago. And I would like to start my presentation actually talking about how AI is started in the beginning and where we are right now. So you have a little bit perspective about how we are going to connect everything to digital twins concept. So actually, AI is not a new concept. We talk about AI since 1950s, 1960s, and in the beginning, when we didn't have the powerful computers, it was just a great idea. As the hardware, the hardware and software start to improve, we start to have much more different applications, etc. In early 1980s, we start to use expert systems, and in construction world, in civil engineering world, we have many expert system applications which I will be explaining a little bit more in the upcoming slides. But in 1990s, we start to use methods such as neural networks and the other systems such as case-based reasoning. And we were at that time, early 1990s even, when we were utilizing these AI things, AI algorithms, AI applications, we never thought that actually it's going to take over the whole world. But living through the last 5 years, and this was one of the most important things I think in my life, with the early 2020s, with the introduction of large language models, which is basically generative AI, the whole AI perception change and the revolution actually started and maybe even finished, because we always assume that we will reach this point in the 50-year period, but with the recent advancements in especially with the generative AI, we start to notice that the change is already here. So, and in construction world, if you look at the academic research and some of the applications, we are utilizing AI for a long time. As I said, starting 1990s. We utilize it in many different perspectives of it, but with the basically inclusion of BIM, building information modeling. And later on, with the Industry 4.0 tools such as Internet of Things, and all these things basically evolve into a new idea called digital twins, where we require a lot of data to be able to manage the infrastructure and the cities. And of course, with the parallel improvement of the technological advancements in artificial intelligence, now we are in a place that actually all these changes coming together in a wonderfully so that it helps us to improve and move forward. So when we talk about artificial intelligence, it is actually, as I said, it was there for a long time. And as I say to my students, I tell them, we look at artificial intelligence as a mathematical approach, because if you look into any of the algorithms such as artificial neural networks, you're going to notice a lot of advanced mathematics. So one of the things that we teach in civil engineering and any engineering curriculum, as you may notice, a lot of mathematics, so that we have a great foundation for understanding the real world problems. And so when we look at the basically statistical mathematics, where we have a lot of approaches. These approaches basically prepare the pavement, prepare the road for the artificial intelligence. So it is not for any engineers, it is not a foreign subject, because they learn about these things in mathematics. It's just understanding that knowledge and applying into these new technologies. So what we do, we utilize artificial intelligence in many different places. We use it for understanding data. And as you may hear this many times, data is the new oil. And I'll be honest with you, actually, it's maybe more than that, because data became really valuable, because data contains a lot of information. But unfortunately, since the data is so massive, especially when we talk about the infrastructure, let me have a little break here and a little explain to you, maybe a little bit more in context. So when we talk about any city, even a smaller city, we talk about the electrical grids, we talk about sewage systems, we talk about clean water systems, we talk about road systems, lighting systems, we talk about if they have public transportation for metro, we talk about metro lines, we talk about bus lines, we talk about taxis, We talk about all these different things which generate massive amount of information. So it is very difficult for, you know, 1 or 2 people or 10 people or 100 people just sit down and analyze these constantly. So definitely machine learning in that perspective, it just basically fills an amazing place. Of course, it is important that we use this data for optimization. Why? Because if you look at for the city level, we have all these facilities that we have to manage for, and as you know, with the climate change, you know, you have to think about the heating, cooling systems, which basically consumes incredible amount of electricity and other resources. So therefore, we have to optimize all this information, and we have to do these optimizations all the time, constantly fine-tuning them, because even little changes in these systems will save you incredible amount of electricity. And with, as I said, these things are becoming much more important. It helps us with the decision making. It helps us with basically reading and understanding the text with the inclusion of natural language processing, because we also, in many places, we have a lot of text data, and for the computers to be able to understand this text data and utilize this text data for different purposes requires NLP. And NLP for many different languages already improved a lot, but there are still places to go. For example, if, you know, for the computer to be able to understand and read and understand English data, yes, the research is there for a long time. But when it comes to languages such as, I don't know, let's say Turkish, it is still improving. So that, you know, when you read a sentence in Turkish, you may understand it completely as a Turkish person, but the computer may still not understand all the nuances of the language itself, but it's improving a lot. And this also helps incredibly, because as you collect all this information in different places, it then computer reads and understands and can make decisions or tells you patterns about what is really happening. I'll give you a little example. For example, if you are using X as old Twitter, or the new, old name Twitter, let's say there is a disaster of some sort in a city. As soon as that disaster hits, somehow, some way, everybody goes to social media, start typing some information, and by the time that information, people reacts to these things much faster. By the time the government, in many cases, understands and reacts to it, that information is already in the social media. So if you collect this information constantly, and at that point, just the inception point of that thing, disaster, you can just have understanding that something bad is happening in a certain area, and you can just create reactive systems to just go ahead and take precautions about it if there's a flooding of some sort. So this is just an idea, but it just this type of information, textual information, is everywhere. If you're in a construction office, there are tons of documents from your contracts to all the way to all kinds of meeting minutes, etc. If you have accident reports, all that report, quality NCRs, non-conformist reports, so all that information is there, but the computer needs to read and understand that. And of course, there is the computer vision. Of course, there is the speech processing. And these things in certain languages are improved a lot, and other languages is following up. They're all related to each other. And of course, with the autonomous cars, with the inclusion of the electrical cars, then you have the autonomous cars. It is moving forward very fast, and it is all about mathematics and programming and AI. Because as the car is moving, it just captures all these images, and all these images are processed immediately, and it recognizes the objects, and like the expert system with the if-then structures is acting on them very fast. So all these things coming into our lives. And I have a news story. This is the amazing part of the news. When I was doing my PhD, I have to learn about C++ and do programming. And this era, right now, for example, I'm using Google AI Studio. Amazing. I can just dream anything, write the rules down, and create the applications in a matter of days. So, and if you are using cloud, it's the same thing. If you are using ChatGPT, Gemini, there are different things that can help you in certain areas of it. But the world right now is in a different place. So if you understand the domain knowledge, if you understand what you're doing, then the rest is going to be much more easy to deliver. So this is an amazing for any people. So when we